In this video, I'll be discussing whether to sit or stand while doing voiceover work. All right, let's get into it. So, to sit or stand? Obviously, I'm standing, so the gig's up, right? But you can go and do voiceover sitting. I know a lot of narrators, right, who are doing audiobooks and such prefer to sit because they're doing long form narration, right? But for me personally, even with audiobook narration, which is pretty much my specialty, right? That is something that I do pretty consistent, right? And I am standing. I think that from a physiological standpoint, that standing is much more beneficial to your vocal cords. I think it helps with the breathing, I think it helps with the acting. I'm a very physical person. So even when I'm doing any kind of voiceover, you see my hands moving around, and that's just the kind of person I am. I get into whatever it is that I'm doing voiceover wise. And for me personally, I have to stand. I couldn't really imagine sitting down and doing voiceover work. I just, that's not me. That's not me. That's not something that I prefer. Does it require more endurance? Yeah. I mean, I have a mat down here, a little pad, and I don't even use it, but I got it to help with the fatigue levels, just to help a little bit when I'm standing for long periods of time. It didn't work out. It felt kind of weird. But it's really important for me to go and stand, be eye level with the script, right? Mic's right here, and I can do what I need to do. If I was sitting down, I couldn't get into it as much. I think acting, I've never taken any official acting courses, but for me, acting, it requires physicality, right? It requires physical movement, not just verbal articulation. Okay. So that's my thought on it, but that's the great thing about voiceover. If you're not physically able to go and stand up, especially if you're doing audiobooks, maybe there's a medical condition. Maybe you're a little bit, older and you can't stand for that long. That's the great thing. You can sit down and do it. No one's saying you can't, right? But I think for me personally, that standing is the way to go. And I don't know if there's a really a right or wrong thing there, but I think it opens up the airways a little bit more. Again, I think that the acting is a little bit more enhanced, but this is just my perception, right? Based off of my understanding of what I know. If you walked into a studio, right, they may have you sit down or they may have you stand, right? It just depends on that studio, right? But right here, for me, standing is the way to go each and every time, right? Again, just think about sitting down, right? You have another element inside of your recording environment, and that particular element may increase the possibility of sound. Okay, whether the chair creaks, right, or whether it may cause some unnecessary sounds is basically what I'm saying. By adding that chair, that element into your recording environment, I think there is a higher probability of increasing sound as well. Okay, so for me, it's all about the numbers. if you remove that, right, from the equation, there's not even a potential there. Okay. So you would just have to stand, right? So for me, it's multifaceted why I prefer to stand, right? I think that chairs, the element of a chair, right? Adding a chair into your recording environment adds a higher probability of increased sound into your recording space. I also think that sitting down, right, it helps to develop or helps to facilitate laziness in the mind because people are comfortable, right? And they're not focused completely on the script and in the moment, right? Again, my perspective, right? Just my perspective, right? I think that the acting is increased. I think that the airways are opened up, okay? And I think that the benefits of standing outweigh the benefits of sitting when doing voiceover work. Again, if you have a medical condition, right? Or, if you're a little bit up there in age, right? And you're not as young as you used to be. I'm getting up there again myself, so I kind of get it, right? But the more that you go up there in years, right, the more you just want to sit down and take it easy a little bit. That's understandable, right? You got some kind of medical condition, definitely makes sense to sit, right? No one's saying you can't sit. But I think that you just need to be mindful of some of the things that I mentioned so that a way you can potentially avoid them by mitigating them as best you can through realistic options. What does that really mean? Okay, that means if you have a chair, right, make sure your chair is not going to produce sound in and of itself, right? If you have a wood chair, make sure it's not creaky, right? Make sure you're not moving all around and such like that inside of the chair. Because if you really get into the character, right, when you're doing fiction, and I'm mainly speaking long form narration here. Obviously, when it's, a short commercial gig, a couple hundred words, whatever, not even that big of a deal, right? You can just stand, not a biggie. But for something like audiobooks especially, you want to make sure that your chair isn't wood or metal or something that's going to make noise when you move around, right? Because if you're really getting into it, you're going to move a little bit, right? It's just, you get into it, right? You want to, so make sure when you're moving around, you have the chair maybe prepped in a certain kind of way, right? Or just be mindful of it though, right? Get the best possible chair that you can that's not going to make any sound, okay? Now, you're going to have to do some searching and some researching on that. Like I said, I don't really use chairs, so I don't have a clue. You need to find the right chair for you, right? And you need to think about the pros versus the cons of using a chair, right? And sitting versus standing, okay? The idea is to not introduce unnecessary noise into your recording environment. The idea is to give the best performance possible, right? The idea is to make sure you have the physical stamina, right? And breath, right? To go and to give the best performance possible, right? So you want to give your best. And for me, my thought, the best is when you stand. So I hope that tip helps. Again, this is my perspective, my experience. Yours may be different. Again, you can sit or stand either way, right? It doesn't matter. Whatever works for you, go ahead and do. There's no rule of thumb per se. I prefer to stand. And you know the reasons why. Hey, if you got some value out of this video, do me a favor, go ahead and smash that like button. Share this with a friend or a buddy or whoever that can benefit from this video and some of my other videos. And hey, if you're not already subscribed yet, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe and hit the little bell icon. I definitely appreciate all the new subscribers and all the comments and all the love. So right back at you. It's definitely appreciated. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.